Hi, it's Dr. Lori, the Ph.D. Antiques Appraiser. I'm back with you guys with more real bargains. These are the real bargains that people have found at estate sales, yard sales, flea markets, grandma's attic, all different places. They've allowed me to retell their stories. Not going to use anybody's name, but here we go. It's really cool. Okay, first real bargain comes from one of my video calls. And you know, people will, of course, call me. We'll do a video call, look at their stuff right live during a video call. So this person gets in touch with me in a video call and he says, Dr. Lori, I went to an estate sale and I really liked this painting and I was ready to spend some money on it because, you know, they had it actually priced at $3,000. And it's a portrait painting. It's a nice painting. He said, I knew it was old, but I didn't know how old. And I said, well, you know, I really like it. I think it's something and I'm going to go all out for it. He negotiated them down from, the estate sale people, from $3,000 to $2,500. Now you're probably thinking, $2,500, Lori, what are you, crazy? Come on, Dr. Lori, we can't afford that. I know. But the payoff is really pretty darn good. It's a Sir Peter Lely school painting. That means that one of the artists who was working within the studio of a very famous artist named Sir Peter Lely in when? The 1650s. The 1650s, that's how old this particular painting is. It has been restored, it's in beautiful condition, and it depicts a very famous person. This is King James I. Okay, so now you're thinking, oh, maybe $2,500 is pretty good for this. $2,500 is really good for this. He negotiated it down, which always makes me happy. It's oil on canvas, a beautiful example. And if you look at the back, if you look at the stretchers, you're going to actually see where the stretcher bars are actually carved out. So you can see how old those stretcher bars actually are from the 1600s. Value on the piece, $12,500 for his investment at an estate sale. That piece should have been in a big major auction house auction or in a big art dealership. That was a real bargain. My next real bargain is from a video call too, and let me tell you, you're all going to recognize this artist. This is Claude Monet. And now you're thinking, oh my gosh, Claude Monet, the Impressionist, the French Impressionist Monet? Yeah, Claude Monet. So I'm on a video call and one of my clients says to me, Dr. Lori, I've been following the channel. I understand about the videos and I knew what to do. I looked at the back and I looked at the age of the paper. So I'm looking at the piece. I'm in the back of this particular LA or Los Angeles area thrift store. I'm in the back where all the artwork is. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, you know, the paper looks like it's pretty old. Looks like it has some age to it. I also saw the word arches on the paper. Arches paper is a type of paper that artists would use for prints and sometimes for watercolors as well. Reeves and arches paper. So this is arches paper. She recognizes this. She said, I didn't really know what the EA meant. And I did see that there was a label, an actual embossed element that said the Institut de France, which is actually, of course, an art organization in France. She said, well, I figured that was pretty good. And of course, I knew who Monet was, Dr. Lori. So I see this piece, and the EA, I tell her on the video call that the EA actually relates to the French term. The French is, of course, Epreuve d'artiste, or basically the artist approved it. So an artist proof. Artist proofs are very important. They're the print that an actual artist would pull off from the printer and look at and say, yes, the colors look good, and yes, this looks like my work. So the fact that it's an artist proof is very important. That EA is actually a European term. So that's wonderful. The paper is aged, but it's in very good condition, and you can see, of course, in the plate the signature of Claude Monet. It's the beach of Trouville. It's very famous. It was one of the places that Monet oftentimes painted the beaches. I love the beach, personally. I love the beach. I like to be at the beach. I like to do nothing. I like to sit around and watch everybody at the beach. I like the beach. The beach of Trouville was basically a very famous French Impressionist site or subject, particularly for Monet and for his friend Renoir, too. So basically what you have here is this 1870s image of the two ladies sitting on the beach in the late 19th century. So what did she pay for it? She paid $10 for it. What's it worth? $5,000. It's one of the little known existing artist proof prints by Claude Monet. Wow, was that a real bargain. The next real bargain comes from a priority member, my priority service, where you, of course, can send an unlimited amount of emails, and I'll get back to you and give you advice and appraisals and such. So this priority member said, Dr. Lori, you know, I go around to antique shops and thrift shops a lot, and I really like it. I enjoy doing that. And I'm like, we all enjoy doing that. We love shopping, right? Like to go get the stuff, like to get the bargains, understand about how to negotiate. It's fun. So she says to me, Dr. Lori, I found this particular piece in an antique store, and I've been looking at this piece in an antique store for a long, long time. I think it's French, and I think the artist's name is Guignec, with a K at the end. I said, okay. And she said, well, you know, I've gone to the stores a lot, and this particular store had this painting in it. And I'd look for it for years, Dr. Lori. I kept looking at it. It was on a staircase. So every time that I'd go to the second floor of this particular antique shop, I'd have to walk up the stairs. And this painting was hanging on the stairs. And every time I'd walk up the stairs, I'd look at it, and I'd look at it, and I'd take it down, and I'd look at the back, and I'd look at it, and I'd think, wow, I really love it. I really love it. But it was $50. So you know, in a thrift store, $50 is a lot of money, right? You know, if you're thrifting, if you're at a yard sale, $25 is a lot of money, but $50 is like $1 million, right? So she said, no, you know what, Dr. Lori, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy it. So she keeps walking by it up and down. Every time that she's in that store, she looks at this and she sees it and she says $50. And it's always $50. They never really lower the price on it either. She said, I knew it was worth the $50, but you know, she said, quote, I just can't. She just couldn't afford it. She just couldn't buy it, right? So she doesn't buy it, and then something happens in her life. And I've had this happen where, you know, something happens and you think, oh, I'm throwing all caution to the wind. Too bad. It happened a lot. It happened at many different intervals in my life. I won't bore you with details, but basically, you know, she said, my father passed away. And I went out thrifting to kind of make myself feel better. We've all done things like this. I go shopping to try to feel better a lot of times. And she said, well, you know, I went out shopping, and that day I walked up the stairs and I thought to myself, I'm buying this. So she paid the $50. She said, I thought the painting was too good to negotiate. Now, let me tell you this. No painting is ever too good to negotiate. You should always negotiate. I will hold to that forever. I know you're falling in love and I want it and this and that. Okay. But, you know, you might have said, is it your best offer? It wouldn't have hurt her. But she didn't. She thought it was worth more. Okay. So she buys the piece for $50 and she sends it to me. And she says, I think it's French. I think the artist's name is Guignec. And I really want you to take a look at it. Well, there are a couple things that were wrong with that. So the artist is not French, the artist is Swiss. The artist's name is Guignec with a T at the end, not a K at the end, and that matters. His name actually is very, very famous. He's active in the late part of the 19th century, and he's a very well-known landscape painter. She paid $50 for a painting that's worth $1,250. So that's a real bargain. And I bet her dad is looking down on her thinking, good job. The next real bargain comes from San Francisco. This particular real bargain is also from a priority member. And this particular priority member sent this to me and said, Dr. Lori, I don't know what this is, but I purchased this from two daughters who were selling out the house of all of their parents' stuff. And they told me that their parents would travel to San Francisco and they'd vacation in San Francisco every year. And whenever they came back from San Francisco, they'd bring something back. A souvenir or maybe a painting, something for the house or something to remember that year's trip by. So this particular painting was just that. It's a signed painting. It's a relatively unusual size or dimensions. It's kind of long and skinny. But in the 1950s and 60s, long and skinny was not unusual. So this is a painting that I would recognize and most people would recognize as, of course, mid-century modern. This particular piece is about 42 inches by 18 inches. So as I said, long and skinny. Might be perfect for a hallway or maybe if you're coming to someplace next to a door or in a foyer or something. So sometimes you just need that piece that fits that space. So this particular piece is a piece by an artist named Pasquale Caraco, and he is signed right here, signed at the bottom, very well known for abstract images of city streets. And you can see the pathway here, the alleyway, the city street right here in this particular very brightly colored painting. It's an oil painting, purchased it from the two daughters, and my client, my priority client, bought it for $5. So the girls are ready to just get rid of everything. What's it worth? With the frame, $750. He's a well-known artist out of San Francisco. So that was a real bargain too. The next real bargain comes from a video call, and I had this video call with a woman from Florida. And this particular piece, if you think about all the exotic animals in places like tropical Florida and other parts of the world, you basically won't be surprised to see that this particular piece came out of a little thrift store, a small thrift store that supports the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Now, I don't know how you feel about certain charities, but I have my charities that I really love, and the Boys and Girls Club of America are one of the great charities. My father was a very poor kid, and he was able to really get his start at the Boys and Girls Club. So when I hear about thrift stores that support these kinds of charities, I think they're great. That's not the only charity that I think people should support, but I really think to help kids is a great thing. So in the Boys and Girls Club thrift shop, she went in and she saw this painting and she liked the frame. She said, Dr. Lori, I really liked the frame. I thought the frame was really great. Now the frame is beautiful. The frame is 19th century, really very nicely done. It's wood, composition matter, and of course gold leaf. It really shines, it sparkles, it's gorgeous, it's very well made. So the frame alone has value, and I think she had an idea of that. So she looks at the piece, she said, well, I liked the bird. I thought the bird was pretty interesting. So when I saw the piece, I said, do you hang it in your home? She said, I don't really have a place to hang it, so I keep moving it around my house. I said, the most important thing about paintings to protect them, hang them up. So don't move them around the house. You might hit it against a piece of furniture. You might put it in a closet and then the vacuum hits it, whatever it might be. Try to hang it up if you can. So she said, well, I'm going to find a spot for it. And I said, okay, well, tell me a little bit about how you found it. She said, well, it was in the thrift store. Nobody was around the thrift store, and I decided that I was going to buy it. I really took it, as I said, for the frame. I said, well, the bird is quite exotic and the bird is quite beautiful. The bird is based on The Birds of America by John J. Audubon. It is not an Audubon painting. Boy, wow, I wish it were an Audubon painting. We'd really be talking about some money. But basically, this particular one is in the manner of John J. Audubon's The Birds of America. It is a local bird, a bird that is indigenous to that part, of course, of the tropics. This particular piece, she bought it for $30, and it's worth, with the frame, $750. So that's a real bargain too. Oil on canvas, really beautiful, a nice work, of course, of wildlife. This next real bargain is also a video call, and this is what I think is fun, because so many of you will get in touch with me, and whether it's an email or you submit something to the website like a photo or whatever, and you'll kind of tell me what you're doing. So this woman said to me, Dr. Lori, I really enjoy the channel. I like the videos. I learn a lot. And I decided that my husband has his job, and I decided that with my 4 children, I wanted to contribute financially to the family. I wanted to figure out how I could do this, and I needed a way to sort of stay out of trouble. She said, your videos are helping me to stay out of trouble and contribute to my family. I think that's great. She said, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I do run my own shop online. I really like it, but what I like the most is learning about how to identify good artwork. You'll notice this real bargains, I've been telling you over and over again, is about artwork. And I like you to learn about artwork and look for certain aspects about the artwork. I've taught you about how to look at the back, the color of the canvas, whether it has nails or staples, how the different types of canvases relate to date, how the brush work is applied. All those things will come to that sort of crescendo of, hey, is this a good painting or isn't this a good painting? So she sees this piece and she says, so I go in, it's about 16 by 20. Now 16 by 20, standard size, in a frame. And she said, but it said 2007 on it. She said, and Dr. Lori, I thought, geez, it's too new, it's too contemporary. Don't think contemporary artwork can't be valuable. You always think that something that's too new is not going to be valuable. But again, it isn't. That's driving me crazy. Is that driving you crazy? Click, click, click. So basically, you have to remember that just because it's new, just because it's contemporary, just because it's 5 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, that doesn't mean it's not valuable. So this particular piece is signed and it says Betty Winberg, and this particular piece says 2007 on it. And I said, well, it's a good painting. She said, I thought it was a good painting too. She said, and then I decided to look on the back, because you always tell me to look at the back. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it 12 million times. It's probably been 12 million times I've said this. You can learn, there's more information on the back of a painting than you'll ever find on the front of a painting. So look at the back. Well, on the back, there was actually an envelope that said receipt on it. And in the envelope was a receipt from a Rockport, Massachusetts gallery. If you don't know about Rockport, Rockport is one of the great American artist colonies and has been that for centuries. Rockport is a very important area for, of course, artists as an artist enclave. And this particular artist was from Rockport. Being from Rockport, the Cape Ann School, Gloucester and Rockport, this particular piece had a receipt inside. And the gallery receipt inside said that the price of this painting in 2007 was $475, unframed. So now it's got a frame on it, and the artist is very well known in the Rockport area. Local artists can have value too. And this particular piece, she bought it for $35. It's worth $500. That's a real bargain too. And a beautiful work as well, this nice landscape of the tree. This real bargain is from a video call, and these two were cuter than cute. These two were a young couple, millennials in their 30s. And so the phone call gets connected, and we're doing the video call. And I said, "Hi, it's nice to meet you." I say that to the wife, and the husband says, "Dr. Lori, we watch you in bed." And I said, if I were as good looking as the two of you, I wouldn't be watching me in bed. I'd be doing something else. And that's as far as I'm going to go. But basically, they were so cute. They were so funny. They said, "We're learning a lot. We're having a lot of fun." And in fact, this is what they wanted to talk to me about. So 2 paintings they purchased. They purchased 2 paintings. The wife goes to this estate sale and goes there for a particular painting. So she gets there and she says to the person running the estate sale, "Hey, I really want this painting. I saw it advertised online and I want this painting. I want to look at it so I can possibly buy it." And they said, "Well, we're sorry, but that one's already sold. But I have 2 more smaller ones like that painting that's sold that are still here." So the estate sale person brings my client, of course, over to these 2 paintings, and she sees these 2 paintings. She says, "I liked them. I want you to look at these paintings, and I want to teach you a little bit about why these paintings are so good." They are 1960s matador paintings. They are signed, they are oil on canvas. And what I want you to look at is, if you look at the background, you can actually see the background and you can see the arena. You can see just little elements that suggest that he's coming out into the arena, that the matador or the toreador or of course the bullfighter is coming into the arena with the bull. If you look at the painting too, there are 2 big X's. Basically, the form of the actual figure make a big X or 2 big diagonals right in the middle. That attracts your eye. And that's important because this is going to move your eye around the composition. Also notice there's a light background, then there's the bull, which is dark, which creates a background for the figure, which is in the middle of course, the bullfighter, and he's in gold and red. But those elements are what attract your eye. The composition of these are so good. They're small scale, they're relatively nicely done, they're in a good frame. They're not in a great frame, but they're in a good enough frame. They date to the 1960s, as I said, they're oil on canvas, and she paid $21 for both of them. What are they worth for the pair? She paid $21 for the pair. Framed, the pair are worth $500. So she paid about 10% or less than 10% for these particular paintings. She said, "Oh, my husband's so happy now." I said, "Well, that's good." He goes, "I'm going to keep watching you in bed, Dr. Lori." I said, "Okay, that's a real bargain too." All of the real bargains are something that you can find as long as you keep watching the videos, share the channel with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe. Check in with me as often as you can. I'm Dr. Lori. I hope you find your real bargain real soon.